Hi there, welcome. My name is Tanya Jooste. I'm coming from my page Botanicamy, and today is a recorded lesson. Yes, why? Because I'm on the road. And the internet connection while we're driving is probably not going to be the best. So yes, road tripping equals not doing a live, but I have come to you today to teach you a little bit more about essential oils, as I usually do on a Thursday at 12 noon. So welcome. Today we are going to be talking about a brand new oil that has been released into the South African market. Really excited about it, or I am really excited about it, and I can't wait for mine to actually arrive. It's on order, so it should probably be here within the next week or so, and then I'm going to be able to test drive the bitterness for myself. I believe it's quite a bitter oil. So let's chat today about celery seed. So celery is very well known because of its detoxing benefits. Just go and look at any health and wellness website, and they'll probably be talking about juicing, and that you need to drink celery juice first thing in the morning. Really, really good for soothing the gut. And there's a lot of additional properties with that. So let's start chatting about this beautiful essential oil, because I think this is going to be one of those ones that we are going to want to use on a daily basis to support really good wellness. Just some fun facts. Today's was a not so fun fact that I published on my page. I think it was a day or two ago actually now, where we chatted about the fact that celery is actually one of the most sprayed crops. In other words, the dirty dozen, the one of those that gets the most pesticides. And if you think about it, if you've ever grown celery in your garden, I have, plant lice, aphids, they really like the celery, and I don't mind eating them. I sort of just dust them off. They always love growing on my kale as well, which I have no issues about, but obviously they can't sell something like that in the store. So it's definitely one of those that is very rigorously sprayed, which also means you are going to be picking up a lot of pesticides when you are actually following the juicing routine, and you're wanting to get in a lot of celery. So here's a top tip. Get yourself some nice celery powder, organic preferably if you can. Yes, it's a little bit more processed, but hopefully if it's organic, then you will not get in all those pesticides. And here's another top fact. There is an essential oil for it now, and we're going to learn today how you can use it to up that smoothie, if we can call it that, level it up. But more than that, also learn about all the other supporting benefits that this beautiful essential oil has. So celery is really detoxing because of the chemical constituents that it has. And one of those is limonene, very high. And the chemical constituent limonene, if you remember, is always in a high concentration in citrus oils as well. So really detoxing, especially to the internal organs and the body. And if you're going to be using a food grade essential oil, then you're winning, because not only is it going to be organic, no pesticides, no fertilizers, you are going to be having the benefits of all the other chemical constituents that are in there as well. So celery seed oil is actually not from the plant. Here's another interesting fun fact. Learning so many new things today. So the celery that you and I buy from the store, or that we grow, those stalky parts is actually not the part where the essential oil comes from. What they need to do is they actually need to grow the celery for at least 2 years, and that's when it matures, and then it forms flowers and fruit. So these fruiting bodies then contain the seed, and the essential oil is actually extracted from the seed. So it's not the same thing. So it's going to have a slightly different taste. And I do believe that celery seed essential oil is incredibly bitter. But we also know that the bitter plants are usually very good in supporting really good digestive health. And celery seed is no different, which is really amazing. Here's another fun fact. I quite like this because of the Afrikaans reference in it. So in 1664 is the first place that they find in literature or in written documents the first mention of celery. And they actually didn't write it in English as Celery. It was celery, like Sellery, which is Afrikaans, which I find absolutely fascinating. I think that's quite a cool fact. So all the way from 1664, that's when it was first mentioned. So let's look a little bit more about these chemical constituents, because there is another chemical constituent in celery, and it's actually called beta-Selenine. Now, the beta-Selenine together with the limonene is a really good combination because it's going to be supporting very many systems in your body. So today we're going to be talking about the top uses and the body systems that they support, and then maybe I'll throw in a recipe there at the end as well, maybe even two, depending on time, because I obviously like cooking with essential oils or using them in my cooking, even if there's no heat involved. So celery seed supports the cardiovascular system, so the circulatory and your heart. Really good for the digestive system. Oh, there's so much information around for how celery actually supports a really good digestive health. It's actually because of the mucosal lining, but we'll get to that in a second. Really good for the endocrine system, so the hormone system, and the reason for that is obviously because of the very good detoxing benefits. So our endocrine, our hormone systems take a lot of punch every single day because of all our toxins, so the toxic load that we get exposed to, whether it's the cleaners in your home, whether it's the makeup that you put on your face if you're not using a plant-based organic brand, if you all the air fresheners that are used, the air pollution even, the lotions that we put on our body. There's so much toxins that we do get exposed to on a daily basis. So celery, and most of those, by the way, before we carry on, cause hormone disruption, so endocrine system disruption, and they're also bioaccumulative over time. So even though the concentrations in the products we use are quite small, because they accumulate and over time your body can't detox from them, then you're going to start affecting some systems in your body, and you're probably not going to feel as well as you should. So that's why the endocrine system is really well supported by using celery essential oil. It also supports the immune system, the nervous system, and also respiratory health. So there's a lot of body systems that actually get really good support from using celery seed essential oil. So it's because of those two chemical constituents. If we start thinking about the way when we do a detox, how we generally use celery, it's usually in a smoothie. So we're going to make a celery juice, or we are going to go a little bit more along the route of adding other protein powders and those kind of things. And this is where celery is really interesting. I really love the taste of celery. I don't know, there's probably some people that don't like it, but to me it just tastes like health and wellness. So one of the top uses, of course, for celery is to use the celery essential oil instead of eating the real celery. So what they do suggest is that you, for example, use 4 drops of celery essential oil in a glass of water or in a bottle of water. Now remember, the essential oil, if you're using a food grade one, it's an oil, so it's going to float on top. So what I like to do for water is put it into a metallic container and put the essential oil at the bottom, and then add the filtered water, and then I shake it really well, because that means you're dispersing the essential oil really well, and then you can drink it. And then if you are going to let it stand before you drink from that bottle again, just remember to shake it very well again. And I think because of the really bitter taste, a lot of people might find it very strong tasting. So a good idea for you, if you're very sensitive to bitter tastes, is perhaps to, rather than add it to some other fruits, for example, when you're making a smoothie. And I'll do a really nice recipe at the end of today's lesson, so that you can maybe start using your celery essential oil in a juice or in a smoothie format. Another good aspect or a top use of the celery essential oil is to support good urinary health, and here it's because of its detoxing benefits. So usually when we start looking at essential oils specifically for gut health, and in the urinary tract, we're looking for oils that are detoxifiers and have diuretic properties, for example. Also, digestive stimulants do really well in supporting the gut health, and that are purifying. So here, celery essential oil, celery seed essential oil is definitely a good one. And how you would support that, again, for the urinary tract, is you're going to need a food grade essential oil, definitely not one that says not for internal use on the label. That label is there for a reason. Please read it. So basically that you would either apply to the bottoms of the feet, so it can get into the system that way, or again, you can have 1 to 2 drops either in a glass of water shaken up really well. But if it's too bitter, you can always add it to an empty veggie capsule. If we then start going a little bit further with the detoxing, it's also going to be really good in supporting the organs. So things like the liver, for example, and even the blood. So the circulatory system, the cardiovascular system is going to really benefit from using this specific essential oil. Also, when you start thinking about discomfort in joint and muscles, it's usually because of a buildup of something. Perhaps you're drinking a little bit too much red wine, perhaps you're eating a little bit too much red meat. All of those things tend to have an effect on your joints, and this is where celery seed is also going to be really helpful. Also, when I'll keep on saying also, and I must be annoying you by now, but that word also is very relevant here, because the celery seed has got an incredible amount of health challenges and body system that it supports. But I think the gut health is probably one that fascinates me the most. So good gut health is at the base of all wellness. If you don't have good gut health, you are probably going to be unwell most of the time. More than 80% of our immune system sits in our gut. So here, celery seed is going to be incredibly beneficial because it actually supports a good mucosal lining. Now, how the immune system works in the gut, and also all the way down when you're swallowing something, is because of that mucosal layer. So if you can use something that supports really good mucosal health, barrier, in other words, barrier support, then definitely give this oil a try. So really beneficial here because of the mucosal lining. So again, when we just delve a little bit deeper and think about what we're saying about mucosal, a lot of people who suffer from ulcer kind of conditions in the tummy area, for example, they usually either have a bacterial infection by something called H. pylori, which is a really bad one to have. Antibiotics really struggle to get rid of that guy. Usually a couple of rounds of antibiotics have to be administered before you sort of know that you're out of it. And it takes months, That H. pylori it's a tough one to get rid of, and obviously that causes quite a lot of havoc in your body, and usually then you're going to have to take a lot of probiotics to re-establish good gut health after that. And what those bacteria do is they actually cause ulcers. So if you're able to do something supportive while you are having to go that antibiotic route for the H. pylori, always think of things that are going to be supporting good mucosal health. So even something like aloe vera juice is really good in supporting the mucosal health. And now you know celery seed oil is definitely one of those as well. So really, really exciting there. Because of the detoxing benefits, it's again also going to be really good for something like your kidneys, and it's going to support really good bladder health as well. Also, I think people that suffer quite a lot from dizziness, head tension, so discomfort in the head area, can be due to toxic load. So that's where celery seed oil is going to be really beneficial as well. Also, insect repellent. So there's a lot of essential oils that smell really amazingly to us as humans, but might not smell as nice to the insects around. So it can definitely be used as an insect repellent as well, and a natural one. I think if you're going to combine that with something like a lemon eucalyptus, it's going to be really beneficial, especially against mosquitoes, for example. And it can also be used as a personal fragrance. So here, the celery seed oil actually has it's a strong smell, but it's very, very beautiful and herby. And if you just go and check out my Science Monday post, you'll actually see that men and women observe celery seed aromatics completely differently. So if you didn't catch up on that one, please go back and scroll on my page, because then you'll just go and see how a woman and men actually perceive celery seed to be completely different. I'm not going to give anything more away there. Just go read the post that I did on Monday. But it can be used very effectively as a personal fragrance. And things that are essential oils that it's going to blend really well with are things like cypress, black spruce, for example, frankincense, and juniper. Juniper berry is a really fresh smell. No, you won't smell like a gin martini, although juniper is gin, but because you're combining the other essential oils with it, it won't be pure gin. You won't smell like an alcoholic on feet. But it really is a beautiful combination over there, because it's all going to be like pine needly, like that fir kind of scent, very fresh. Frankincense, for example, smells completely different in a diffuser compared to when it comes out of the bottle as those flavors and aromatics develop. So definitely a combination to try. I'm just going to name those again if you want to go and make that personal fragrance. So how you would make that is, for example, in a 10ml roller bottle. So you can get an empty glass roller bottle and then put your essential oils at the bottom and then fill it with carrier oil, so that you can roll it onto your pulse points, for example, and behind your ears. You could quite easily make your own natural home deodorant as well, specifically with those oils. By the way, I added lemon eucalyptus to mine the other day and it smells absolutely amazing. Remember, I've got this love affair going with lemon eucalyptus. So I would probably try and combine that in there as well. But those 4 oils that they mentioned work really well together for the personal fragrance is spruce, so black spruce, and cypress, frankincense, and juniper. So for cooking, obviously you're going to be using celery seed oil quite routinely. I think it's one of those essential oils because of its supportive benefits that you can use definitely on a daily basis. So you can add some to your cooking always after you've switched off the heat, in my opinion, so you don't change the chemical constituents too much. And it's going to have that really beautiful celery taste. I love celery. I really like it in my smoothie. So I've just got to remember or remind myself to give you those smoothie recipes right there at the end. But celery is definitely something that I try and include into my diet almost every single day. So whether it's in the juice in the morning or in a more smoothie, in a more creamy format, it's definitely something that is always somewhere in my cooking. I sometimes add it to a soup. It's a really good, if you think about when you're making something in a pan with, for example, a little bit of onion and some carrots and some celery, it makes a really good base for a sauce or for some kind of topping that you're going to make for a pasta. So there you could definitely use celery seed essential oil right at the end when the heat is turned off. And amazingly, it's also going to have a lot of emotional support. So if you're looking to move emotionally from feeling aggravated to feeling reconciled, celery seed is going to be the oil for you. So definitely a nice one then for those kind of purposes to put in your diffuser. So there's a lot of information that I gave to you there today about this beautiful essential oil. Hopefully all of you are going to get it soon because it's just arrived in the country. It's going to be one of those amazing ones that I think we use quite routinely. And then the recipes, let's just get to those smoothie recipes. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 today for you. The first one is more of a juicy one. So let's call it, if you want me to send you that specific juicy one, go and put in the comments, obviously, to this post, just write juicy, and I'll be sending that recipe to you, and then I'll also make a more creamy one. So for that one, go and put into the comments creamy. All right. So let's just first get to the one, I just want to get to my juicing recipe here quickly. So this is going to be, more on the juicy side. So it's not necessarily going to be like that slushy, creamy kind of thing. It's more fruit juice in a sense. So something that I really like to do in my NutriBullet is something sour with something green with sometimes protein powder, but sometimes even not. So if you're just doing the something sour with the something green, it's a really good combination. And then you can obviously add these superfood kind of things, which is where the celery seed obviously plays a role. So I really like combining kale and spinach from my garden with some ruby grapefruit juice or some grenadillas. So I have grenadillas growing in my garden, quite a lot of them, and I make ice cubes from them. So 2 to 3 grenadilla ice cubes, which has got the very sour and the sweetness to it. And then I'd say, depending on which kale I'm using, because I've got the frilly kale and I've also got those very big flat-leaved kale that you make the kale chips from. I've got both varieties in my garden. So depending on the size of the smoothie maker that you have, I sort of jam pack as much as I can of the kale and the spinach in there. And I'd say probably the juice from around half a ruby grapefruit, and then to that I usually add about a teaspoon of organic celery powder. Now that you can get at any good health store, but what I'll probably do when my celery seed oil arrives is I'll swap those 2 out and see how the celery seed oil works. So then I'd probably add about 2 to 3 drops of celery seed oil to that, and that's it. And then you just juice it up until everything is fine. What I sometimes like to do is I add some basil leaves for a different kind of flavor, or even some dill works really nice in that recipe as well. And then you just blitz that up. and it's delicious. It's an absolutely almost chewy juice. It's really, really, really good. And you know it's going to be really healthy too. But it tastes amazing, I promise. I know it's going to be like all green and stuff, but it really tastes amazing. So that's the juicy recipe. So if you want that sent straight to your phone via Messenger or via WhatsApp, if I already have you in my contact list, then just comment juicy in the comments. Now we're going to go over to the more creamy one. And this is probably going to be more like a, you know, when you're drinking like a frozen margarita. So those sort of iced cocktails. So that's what this one is going to be like. And you're going to have to do a little bit of pre-prep. So you're going to either go and have to buy some frozen berries or buy berries and freeze them yourself. Blueberries freeze so very well. Really amazing. So if you're growing blueberries, you can just chuck a couple into a Ziploc baggie or something, even a glass container, and just pop those in the freezer. So you can do that with strawberries, you can do that with gooseberries. I know I've got a lot of gooseberries in the garden at the moment, so that is another thing that I like to freeze away. Works really well because yes, it becomes mushy, but we're not going to be using it as decoration on a cake. We're going to be chucking it into a smoothie and smothering it anyway, so it doesn't matter if it's too mushy. So here you can obviously alternate and play around with the fruit that you're going to be using, but this one is definitely going to have that sort of slushy, creamy kind of vibe to it. So for this one, you're going to add 1 frozen banana. So there's the pre-prep. You're going to have to freeze a banana, and then you can add a cup of apple, and here you're going to have to play around with the apples depending on your taste. I like, again, quite a sour apple, so I usually go for something like a Pink Lady. If you're more sweet, you can probably go a little bit more Golden Delicious, but just depends on your taste. So 1 cup of red apple or Golden Delicious or Pink Lady, whichever you prefer. That does not have to be frozen. The banana is going to give it that incredible lush, sort of thick, slushy, yummy gooiness. And then you're going to add 1 cup frozen strawberries, and then you can add either raspberries or blueberries depending on which way you want to go, but that is also frozen. And I'll obviously send this recipe with the exact cups to you. Again, just put in the comments frozen. Did I say frozen or did I say smoothie now? Oh dear, now I'm confusing everyone. Let's regroup. So the juicy one, comment juicy. And let's call the smoothie one either frozen or smoothie, and then I'll know which one it is. And then you're going to add to that the 2 drops of celery seed oil. So that's going to be 1 frozen banana, 1 cup of apple, 1 cup of frozen strawberries, 1 cup of frozen raspberries or blueberries. And you're going to add to that 1 cup of water, filtered water preferably, and then 2 drops of celery oil, and you're just going to blitz that up, and that is going to be slushy, creamy, oozy heaven. All right, so there we go. Some 2 beautiful recipes for you to include your celery seed oil into your morning diet. You could always add it to soups as well at the end, but definitely one of those essential oils that's going to be really beneficial in supporting really good gut health and internal detoxification. Support that for all your organs. All right, so hopefully you learned something new today. I certainly did. And yes, hopefully I'll see you guys again next week, Thursday. If I'm not yet back from my road trip, I will try and make us a nice recording again. Perhaps I come live from the seaside. We'll have to see. But thank you so much for joining today. If you want any of those recipes, again, just comment juicy for juice, for the juicy one, and then either smoothie or frozen. Can I not remember that? Frozen, for the one with the frozen berries and the frozen banana in there, so I can get that recipe to you with your celery seed oil. Cheerio. Bye-bye.